It is 11 o'clock. These are your top stories. Chief Justice Mogoeng is due to retire tomorrow after more than a decade at the helm of the Constitutional Court. Pressure mounts for Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Maboyane to resign. And in sports news, good news, Bafana secure their second win of the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. Live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, this is the agenda. I'm Blaine Herman. Our sign language interpreters this morning are Tryfosin Tsulengwe and Nonhlanhla Nyovane. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Look, I wonder how much weight do manifesto launches, door-to-door campaigns, rallies carry for you? Or does it matter more what happens in between elections that holds sway over your decision making? We know that the voters' roll contains 26.2 million voters, of which 55%, interestingly, are women. The Electoral Commission tells us that the Gauteng province has the biggest representation on the voters' roll with 6.1 million voters. Second comes that province currently on your shot, KwaZulu-Natal, with 5.4 million voters. The biggest age cohort on the voters' roll is the 30 to 39 years old at 6.7 million, representing about 25%. But out of all these numbers that I've mentioned, how many of you will actually turn out and vote? We have our journalists on the ground testing the temperature of views. There you see them there, gauging the appetite to vote. Stand by for their live reports. Lots to cover, my brothers and sisters. So what do you say? Let's get to it. Straight to Soweto we go. It's where we find my colleague Samkele Maseko. He's covering the IFP leader Velenkosini Hlabisa launching the Gauteng campaign in Soweto. Samkele, so with regards to local government elections and why it matters is because it just talks directly to the people, isn't it? The bread and butter issues. The confidence of people that you spoke to with regards to the IFP, in the IFP. What are they saying?
Essentially, Blaine, you can see the stage as I step out of shot. The stage is set here for the IFP President Velenkosini Hlabisa to deliver the party's Gauteng leg of the manifesto of the party as South Africa heads to the local government elections on the 1st of November. Most of the residents who have come here to listen to this manifesto of the Inkatha Freedom Party, they are dwellers of the hostels here in and around Gauteng. We have come to listen to the manifesto of the Inkatha Freedom Party, which speaks plain to the bread and butter issues that South Africans are facing, such as the issues of housing, the issues of infrastructure, roads, the issue of electricity, the issue of infrastructure development across the country, the issue of job creation. And we also seeing some residents whom have taken chairs and are sitting under the trees because it's scorching hot here as they await for the arrival of Velenkosini Hlabisa, who is the president of the IFP, who will be delivering their manifesto. So essentially residents of Soweto and Gauteng at large who have come to listen to the manifesto launch of the Inkatha Freedom Party. It's young people whom are seeking jobs, whom are seeking to go to higher education institutions of learning, whom are seeking to get bursaries in order for them to finish their qualifications and get jobs. So the issue of local government is an issue that speaks to your day-to-day living, Plain, instead of policy framework, instead of plans that are developed by government in order to ensure that there is services to the people. But these elections are all about the now. It's all about bread and butter issues. It's all about housing. It's all about roads. It's all about making sure that you and your family have something to eat late at night and that you are able to provide for your family. We're hoping to speak to the MMC of housing in the city of Johannesburg, Mlungisi Mabaso, to speak to how the IFP as they are deployed in the mayoral committee as the MMC of housing, on how they are making sure that the poverty that those people who are staying in informal dwellers, those who are staying in hostels, that they are eradicated. As my colleague Sipo shows you the visuals of these IFP members who are arriving here to listen to the manifesto launch of the IFP. It's largely young people whom stay in and around the areas of Soweto who've come to listen to this manifesto launch, as the IFP is part of the government of local unity here in the city of Johannesburg. It's just an issue of whether they are getting services or not.
Velenkosini Hlabisa, Samkele, how are commentators, how are analysts describing his tenure as at the head of this party, the president of this party, especially in attracting new voters?
It's essentially very difficult for Velenkosini Hlabisa, as you know that Inkosi Umntwana wakaPhindangena Baba Mangosuthu Buthelezi has been the leader of the IFP since its inception. He stepped down a few years ago, where Velenkosini Hlabisa then took over. Even with this particular election, I'm just going to ask my colleague just to show you some of the t-shirts that the people are wearing here. I'm just going to ask this particular gentleman just to turn around. You can see that particular t-shirt. It's got the face of Umntwana wakaPhindangena, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, as opposed to having the face of the IFP president. So essentially, the IFP campaign is anchored around the legacy of Umntwana wakaPhindangena, and you even heard him when he delivered the manifesto of the IFP. He spoke last as he is the president emeritus of the Inkatha Freedom Party. So when Hlabisa, the president, delivered the local government elections manifesto, it then brought upon Umntwana wakaPhindangena to come and speak on the legacy of Inkatha Freedom Party, how it was formed. So essentially, Hlabisa's own political legacy is being overshadowed by the legacy of the founding president of Inkatha Freedom Party, which is Umntwana wakaPhindangena. So essentially, those whom speak about Hlabisa, I know one political analyst and also a talk show radio host, Lukwana Mguni, is very scathing on the IFP in saying that Hlabisa is not the president of the IFP. The true president of the IFP is Umntwana wakaPhindangena, Umntwana Mangosuthu Buthelezi, because even if you look at the manifesto launch of the IFP, it is Mangosuthu Buthelezi who spoke last and not the president of the IFP, which is Velenkosini Hlabisa. We're just going to bring in shortly the MMC of housing in the city of Johannesburg, Councillor Mlungisi Mabaso. Councillor Mabaso, just essentially, you are the MMC of housing in Johannesburg. How are you resolving the crisis of housing, particularly knowing that your own constituency of the IFP stays in informal dwellings and stays in hostels?
Well, thank you very much, Samkele, and thank you for having me. We started with the program of hostel redevelopment, where we refurbished the units that were vandalized, that were not previously occupied, and we converted them from rental units into RDP houses. We have started with the verification right now so that we are able to source beneficiaries from the TRUs that were provided by the provincial government when those people were opening up spaces for development. And the other thing is the informal settlements upgrade. In the last financial year, we started with 12 informal settlements where we provided resources and allocated funds for that. And then in this current financial year, we added 30 to the 12. So we currently working on 42 informal settlements where we are providing them with water, we are providing them with electricity, we are giving them stands, and we are doing also access road in those areas. And our initial plan is to provide them with title deed in the long term, so that we are able to build houses for them. But we said, because the issue of housing of houses in the city of Johannesburg is a serious crisis, and we don't have enough budget to deliver, so that we are able to address the housing backlog, we then decided to say we need to then take services to our people in the informal settlement, so that while they are waiting, at least there are services that they are being provided to them.
You recently went to Orange Farm, and I understand there's a particular housing project which has stalled for the longest of time in Orange Farm. How is the refurbishment of that project, which has been abandoned by government of years? How are you refurbishing that particular establishment, and when will it be rolled out to the people?
Well, all the projects in Region G are provincial projects except the Lehigh. But what we have done after our oversight in the area, we have written a report. We submitted that report to the Premier, to the MEC, to the Chairperson of Human Settlement, and to the Chairperson of OCPOL, who is also the IFP Chairperson here in Gauteng, where we have requested their intervention, and we have requested them to hand over those projects to the city so that we are able to complete them, because those people come to us, you know, to submit their grievances, to say they've been waiting for us because other units were constructed and demolished and reconstructed again with no reason being provided. So we are awaiting for their response. But I also engage with our provincial chair, who's the chairperson of OCPOL, to say they need to expedite the process of attending to that matter and then decide after whether they give us funds to complete the project or they hand over the project to us so that we are able to complete it.
Last question to you, Mr. Mabaso. As the IFP Youth Brigade chairperson in the province, how are you bringing the youth in order to come to vote for the IFP shortly?
Well, I'm the National Secretary, by the way, but no, I will accept that. One, we've got the majority of IFP candidates are young people. That's the first thing that we have done. We have made sure that young people are brought in all the discussions that we are having in the party, because even our manifesto, it speaks on the empowerment of young people, to say how do we empower young people with the infrastructure investment that municipalities are responsible with. So, and the second one is that we've got a lot of programs where we are on the ground engaging with young people particularly, so that we make them understand the importance of having to participate in these upcoming elections, because we want to make the environment conducive for the upcoming generation so that they don't fight the battles that we are fighting of young people being involved in economic activities, of young people having to get employment, of young people having to be involved in the decision-making bodies. So we need to make sure that we address those issues now so that the next generation, when they come, they find the environments conducive. So the young people of the IP are on the ground, and the majority of candidates are young people, and we are engaging with young people, the voters, to say to them they need to make sure that they come out in numbers to vote, because it is on their hands now to make sure that we improve their living conditions. They can't do that if they are sitting at home folding their hands, but they must make sure that they participate in these elections.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mabaso. That was Councillor Mabaso, who's also the IFP's Youth Brigade Secretary in Gauteng, speaking on the issues of housing and how they are getting young people to come out and vote for the IFP.
All right, Samkele Maseko live for us today in Soweto. Thank you very much indeed for your reporting. The EFF is conducting door-to-door campaigns in